Admiral Krell stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Flame. His scaled hands clasped behind his back as he watched the blue planet grow larger on the main screen. Earth, the newest target for the Draconian Empire. Status report, Krell demanded. His voice was deep and rough, like stones grinding together. All 300 warships are in formation, Admiral, his second-in-command reported. We will reach Earth orbit in 30 minutes. Krell nodded, his amber eyes never leaving the screen. Intelligence reports claimed that humans were a divided species with simple technology. They fought among themselves over land and resources. They would be easy to conquer. This will be a simple victory for the Empire, Krell said. Prepare the announcement of surrender terms. Far below on the planet's surface, Jack Miller sat on the porch of his parents' farmhouse in Iowa. The morning, air was cool and steam rose from his coffee mug. At 32, Jack had served in the Navy for 10 years. He was home on leave, enjoying the peace and quiet. The peace didn't last long. Jack's phone buzzed in his pocket. At the same time, he noticed something strange in the sky. Dark shapes appeared, blocking the morning sun. Miller? He answered the phone. Lieutenant Miller. This is an emergency recall. Report to the nearest military facility immediately. The voice on the other end was tense. Jack looked up at the sky again. The shapes were clearer now. Ships, hundreds of them. Not from Earth. I see them, Jack said. What's the situation? Unknown vessels in orbit. They're positioning themselves over major cities worldwide. This is not a drill. Jack was already moving, heading for his car. I'm on my way. At NASA headquarters, Dr. Susan Wright stared at her computer screen in disbelief. The energy readings from the alien ships were off the charts. Nothing in human science could explain what she was seeing. The president is about to address the nation, someone said behind her. Susan didn't look away from her screen. These ships aren't just advanced, she said to no one in particular. They're using energy in ways we've never seen before. Her colleague, Frank Rivera, leaned over her shoulder. But look at this pattern, he said quietly, pointing to a section of data. It's similar to Project Chimera. Susan's eyes widened. Project Chimera was classified. The public didn't know about it. Most of the government didn't know about it. It was humanity's secret defense system, developed not to destroy enemies, but to remove them from the battlefield entirely. How is that possible? Susan whispered. Frank shook his head. I don't know. But if they have similar technology, we're in trouble. In New York, Peter Collins rushed into the United Nations building. As the U.S. representative to the Security Council, he needed to be there for the emergency meeting. Security was tight, with armed guards at every entrance. They're broadcasting something, someone told him as he entered the main chamber. The aliens are making demands. The large screen at the front of the room showed a face that wasn't human. Scales instead of skin. Amber eyes with vertical pupils. Sharp teeth that showed when it spoke. People of Earth, the creature said. I am Admiral Krell of the Draconian Empire. Your planet is now under our control. Submit peacefully and some of you will be allowed to live as servants of the Empire. Resist and you will be eliminated. Peter looked around the room. Representatives from every major nation sat in shocked silence. We need to respond, Peter said, standing up. We need to show them we're willing to talk. The Russian representative scoffed. Talk? They want surrender, not conversation. We have to try, Peter insisted, before anyone does something foolish. On the Eternal Flame, Admiral Krell watched as scout ships descended toward Earth's surface. Their mission was to assess key military installations and prepare for ground invasion. Admiral, his communications officer called out. Scout Group 5 is not responding. Krell turned. What do you mean, not responding? They were approaching a military base in what the humans call Nevada. Then they vanished from our sensors. Krell's scales bristled. Vanished? Check for debris. No debris, Admiral. No distress signal. They're just gone. Before Krell could respond, another officer spoke up. Scout Group 3 has also disappeared. They were over the human nation called Russia. Krell's eyes narrowed. This wasn't possible. Human weapons couldn't destroy Draconian ships without leaving traces, and they certainly couldn't take out ships without the ships sending distress signals. Put all ships on high alert, Krell ordered. No more scouts. Prepare the main fleet for attack. But the reports kept coming in. More ships disappearing. Not just scouts now, but frigates and destroyers. 20 ships gone within hours. No explanations, no debris, no signals. Just gone. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Alan Carter watched the feeds from around the world. The massive underground facility had been built decades ago, hidden from public knowledge. It housed Project Chimera, humanity's greatest secret. The system activated automatically, reported Dr. Olivia Barnes, the lead scientist on the project. She was young for her position, barely 40, but brilliant. The Chimera nodes detected the threat and responded. General Carter nodded grimly. Without authorization. The system is designed to protect Earth, Olivia reminded him. That's what it's doing. On the screens before them, they could see the status of the Draconian ships. Not destroyed, not damaged, but relocated. The Chimera system manipulated space-time, creating pocket dimensions where the enemy ships were now trapped. To the Draconians, it would seem as if their ships simply vanished. The President needs to be informed, General Carter said. This wasn't how we planned to reveal Chimera to the world. Plans change, Olivia replied. Besides, it's working. The Draconians have no idea what they're dealing with. In orbit, Commander. Vex led a strike team from one of the Draconian cruisers. Their mission was to capture a human research station to gather intelligence. The humans on board would be questioned, then eliminated. What Vex found instead was a nearly empty station, with just one human waiting for them. The human, a man with gray hair and glasses, sat calmly at a control panel. Welcome to Earth, the human said. According to the name tag on his coat, he was Dr. Frank Rivera. Vex pointed his weapon at the human's head. What happened to our ships? Frank smiled slightly. You expected us to be primitive. You expected us to fight the way you fight. But humans are different. We learned long ago that there are better ways to handle threats than simple destruction. You will tell me what you've done, Vex growled, or you will die. Frank shrugged. Kill me if you want. It won't help you understand. He pressed a button on a band around his wrist. It won't stop what's already happening. The air around Vex and his team seemed to shimmer. The human research station faded from view, replaced by an empty white room with no doors, no windows. What is this? Vex demanded. But Frank Rivera was gone. They were somewhere else entirely. Somewhere impossible. On the Eternal Flame, Admiral, Krell received the news with growing rage. 30 ships now missing. No explanations. No understanding of what weapons the humans were using. Humans were nothing like the Draconians had expected. And Krell was beginning to realize that this simple conquest might be anything but simple. Admiral Krell slammed his fist on the command console. 45 ships gone now. Nearly a sixth of his invasion fleet had vanished without a trace. Impossible, he growled. No species at this technology level could do this. His advisors stood nervously around him. None wanted to be the target of his anger. Perhaps our intelligence was wrong, one brave officer suggested. The humans may be more advanced than we thought. Krell's amber eyes narrowed. Find out what weapon they're using. Now. In the underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Carter watched the Draconian fleet on the main screen. The Chimera system was working better than anyone had expected. The pocket dimensions are stable, Dr. Olivia Barnes reported. The captured ships are in perfect stasis. Time flows differently there. For them, barely seconds have passed. And the crews? General Carter asked. Alive and unharmed, Olivia confirmed. Just as the system was designed. Jack Miller arrived at the facility after being picked up by a military helicopter. He still wore civilian clothes, jeans, and a flannel shirt. He hadn't had time to change. Lieutenant Miller reporting, sir, he said, saluting General Carter. At ease, Lieutenant, Carter said. We need your expertise. You've studied alien technology patterns more than anyone else in the service. Jack nodded. What do you need, General? We've captured several Draconian ships. We need to understand their systems, their weaknesses, and we need to do it fast. Before they figure out what we're doing, Jack finished the thought. On the main screen, they watched as another Draconian ship faded from normal space, captured by a Chimera node. The President is about to address the world, someone announced. The screen split, showing President Laura Simmons standing at a podium. Her face was serious but calm. Citizens of Earth, she began. As you know, we face an unprecedented threat. The Draconian Empire has come to our world with intentions of conquest. But they have made a grave error in judgment. She paused, looking directly into the camera. For decades, we have maintained the appearance of division. We have hidden our true technological advances. This was not deception for its own sake, but a necessary protection. Today, that protection has saved us. In homes, shelters, and military bases around the world, people watched in shock as the President revealed the truth about Project Chimera. We are not destroying the Draconian ships, she explained. We are simply removing them from the battlefield. No lives lost, no destruction, just relocation. In his Iowa farmhouse, Jack's parents watched the address with wide eyes. They had no idea what their son had been involved with all these years. Admiral Krell also watched the human leader's speech, his scales darkening with rage. So they hide their true nature, he snarled. They present themselves as weak and divided while developing technology to rival the greatest empires. His second-in-command approached cautiously. Admiral, we've detected energy signatures similar to the disappearance effect. They're coming from several locations on the planet's surface. The source of their weapon, Krell realized. Target those locations. Full bombardment. But before the order could be carried out, sensors detected a new problem. Admiral, our weapons systems are changing. The targeting computers show errors. Krell looked at the screen in disbelief. The humans weren't just removing ships. They were altering the systems of the ships that remained. How is this possible? He demanded. In Australia's outback, Mary Johnson guided her jeep across the red earth. As a ranger in this remote area, she knew every hill and valley for hundreds of miles. What looked like empty desert to most people was a landscape full of meaning to her. Today she had a special mission. When the alarm had come, she'd been ready. She drove to what appeared to be an ordinary rock formation and placed her hand against a specific spot. A hidden panel opened, revealing a control system. Chimera Node 17 activated, she said into the small microphone. Draconian ships targeted. Across the outback, concealed emitters powered up. They didn't look like weapons, just simple metal rods extending from the earth. But when activated, they created a field that stretched miles into the sky, affecting the Draconian ships that passed through it. Mary watched from her jeep as 3 enemy ships flying overhead suddenly shimmered and vanished. She smiled. The desert had many secrets, and she was proud to be a guardian of one of them. In the pocket dimension where the captured Draconian ships were held, Dr. Susan Wright led a team of scientists examining the alien technology. The dimension looked like a vast white space with the captured ships floating motionless. For the Draconians inside, time barely moved. It would feel like seconds for them, while hours passed in the real world. This gave the scientists valuable time to study without risk. Their propulsion system is fascinating, Susan said, examining a holographic display of the ship's engine. It's similar to concepts we've theorized but never built. Beside her, Frank Rivera nodded. After his encounter with Commander Vex on the space station, he had been brought to the pocket dimension to assist. But their weapons are crude, Frank noted. All based on destruction. They never developed the concept of spatial manipulation like we did. Different evolutionary paths, Susan agreed. They evolved from predator species. Direct conflict is in their nature. Back on the Eternal Flame, Admiral Krell faced a difficult decision. 60 ships gone now, more disappearing each hour. And still no understanding of how to counter the human technology. We should retreat, his second-in-command suggested quietly. Regroup, return with better intelligence. Krell's pride rebelled at the thought. The Draconian Empire did not retreat. They conquered or died trying. But this was unlike any resistance they had encountered before. No, Krell decided. We change strategy. If we cannot fight their technology, we will strike directly at their leadership. He turned to his tactical officer. Find their command centers, their government locations. We will take hostages and force them to return our ships. What Krell didn't realize was that the humans were listening to every word spoken on his ship. The Chimera system didn't just relocate ships. It allowed Earth's defenders to tap into the communications of any vessel that passed through its field. In the underground facility, Jack Miller listened to the Admiral's new plan. They're getting desperate, he told General Carter. They're going to target civilian leadership now. General Carter nodded grimly. Then we need to end this quickly. He turned to Dr. Olivia Barnes. Is the Chimera Prime ready? Olivia hesitated. It's never been tested on a ship that size. The energy requirements are enormous. We don't have a choice, Carter said. If they target our leaders, many people could die. We need to take out their command ship. Olivia nodded and began typing commands into her console. Preparing Chimera Prime. Target. Draconian flagship. Across the globe, all Chimera nodes shifted their power, channeling energy to a single massive node hidden beneath the Atlantic Ocean. This was humanity's greatest achievement, technology that could bend the fabric of reality itself. As Admiral, Krell prepared his attack on Earth's leadership. He had no idea that his flagship was about to become the next ship to disappear. Admiral Krell felt it before any alarm sounded. A strange vibration through the deck plates of the Eternal Flame. A subtle shift in gravity. The air itself seemed to shimmer around him. What's happening? He demanded. But he already knew. The humans had targeted his flagship. Energy surge detected, his science officer shouted. Pattern matches the disappearance effect. Krell rushed to the command console. Emergency protocols. Full power to shields. But the Draconian shields weren't designed to stop this kind of attack. They could block energy weapons, physical projectiles, even radiation. But they couldn't prevent the fabric of space itself from changing. The bridge of the Eternal Flame began to fade, like a painting left in the sun too long. Krell roared in defiance, drawing his ceremonial blade. But there was nothing to fight. No enemy to defeat. Just the laws of physics being rewritten around him. Then, just as suddenly, the effect stopped. The bridge stabilized. Krell looked around in confusion. Status report, he ordered. His officers checked their consoles with trembling hands. Admiral, his second-in-command said, voice shaking. We're partially phased. The bridge and command. Sections remain in normal space, but 70% of the ship has been relocated. Krell stared at the view screen in shock. Where his mighty ship had once been, only a fragment remained. Most of the Eternal Flame had vanished, leaving just enough to sustain life support for the bridge crew. They could have taken us all, his tactical officer realized. They chose not to. A message, Krell growled. They're sending us a message. In the underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Carter watched the results with satisfaction. Chimera Prime worked perfectly, Dr. Olivia Barnes reported. Partial phase shift complete. Their command module remains in our space, as planned. Can they communicate with the rest of their fleet? Jack Miller asked. Yes, Olivia confirmed. That was intentional. We want them to report what happened. General Carter nodded. Fear is a powerful weapon. Now every ship in their fleet knows what we can do. On a secure channel, President Laura Simmons addressed the remaining Draconian ships. Admiral Krell, she said, as you have experienced, we have the technology to remove your entire fleet from this reality. We have chosen restraint. We have chosen mercy. Your ships and crews in our custody are unharmed. They will remain that way if you choose to end this invasion immediately. In Washington, D.C., Peter Collins watched the president's address from the emergency bunker beneath the White House. Other world leaders were connected via secure video links. Will they listen? The British Prime Minister asked. They have no choice, Peter replied. They came expecting primitive victims. Instead, they found an advanced civilization that had been hiding its true capabilities. On the partial remains of the eternal flame, Admiral Krell received the human president's message. His pride demanded he fight to the end. But his duty too. The Empire required he make a logical decision. "How many ships do we have left?" he asked quietly. 123, Admiral," his second-in-command replied. "Less than half our original fleet." Krell closed his eyes briefly. Opening them, he made his decision. "Order all remaining ships to maintain position. No aggressive actions." He turned to his communications officer. "Prepare a channel to respond to the humans." In Australia's outback, Mary Johnson watched the sunrise from her jeep. The Chimera node she had activated was still running, its energy field extending invisibly into the sky. Her radio crackled to life. "All personnel, stand by for possible deactivation order," a voice said. "The Draconians have ceased hostile actions." Mary smiled. She had been a ranger for 30 years, protecting this land. Few knew that she also protected something much greater, a piece of humanity's hidden defense system. In the pocket dimension, Dr. Susan Wright and Frank Rivera had made significant progress understanding the Draconian technology. "They're faster than light." "Drive is fascinating," Susan said, examining a holographic display. "But their understanding of dimensional physics is primitive compared to ours." "That's why they never saw this coming," Frank agreed. "They don't even have the scientific framework to understand what we've done to them." A communication alert sounded. Susan checked her tablet. "They're ordering us back," she said. "Looks like the Draconians want to talk." In the Atlantic Ocean, aboard the research vessel Pacific Explorer, scientists monitored Chimera Prime, the most powerful node in Earth's defense network. Hidden beneath the waves, the massive installation had channeled enough energy to partially phase out the Draconian flagship. Dr. Kevin Young, the lead engineer, checked the readings with concern. "Power levels are still fluctuating," he reported to his team. The system wasn't designed to maintain a partial phase shift for this long. His assistant, Lisa Chen, nodded. "If the Draconians don't agree to terms soon, we'll have to either complete the phase shift or release it." "Let's hope they're smart enough to see they're beaten," Kevin replied. Back in the command facility, General Carter received word that Admiral Krell was ready to communicate. The large screen on the wall flickered, then showed the Draconian leader. His scales were darker than before, a sign of stress in his species. "You have proven your technological superiority," Krell said without preamble. "The Draconian Empire recognizes your right to exist unmolested." General Carter stood straight, facing the alien commander. "That's not enough, Admiral. We want your complete withdrawal from our system, and a guarantee that the Draconian Empire will recognize Earth and all human colonies as sovereign territory, now and in the future." Krell's eyes narrowed. "You have colonies? Our intelligence showed no human presence beyond this solar system." "There's a lot your intelligence got wrong," General Carter replied. "We've been exploring space for longer than you realized." This was not entirely true. Humans had only a few small research outposts beyond the solar system. But the Draconians didn't need to know that. Krell seemed to consider this information. Finally, he nodded. "I will agree to your terms, with one condition. Return our ships and crews." "They will be returned once you've left our system," General Carter countered. "Consider them insurance of your good behavior." In the White House bunker, President Simmons received updates on the negotiations. The other world leaders watched anxiously over their video links. "It's working," Peter Collins whispered to her. "They're backing down." The president nodded slightly, maintaining her composed expression for the cameras. Decades of secrecy were ending today. The world now knew about Project Chimera, about humanity's true technological capabilities. "Once this is over," she said, quietly to Peter, "nothing will be the same." "Is that bad?" Peter asked. The president considered the question. "No," she finally answered. "It's just different. We've been pretending to be less than we are for so long. Maybe it's time we showed the galaxy who we really are." On the farm in Iowa, Jack's parents watched the news with amazement. The reporters were explaining how humanity had secretly developed technology far beyond what was publicly known. "Do you think Jack knew about this?" his mother asked. Before his father could answer, their phone rang. It was Jack calling from the secure facility. "Mom, Dad, I'm okay," he said. "I can't tell you everything yet, but I wanted you to know I'm safe." "We're proud of you, son," his father said. "Whatever part you played in all this." Jack smiled. "It's not over yet. The Draconians are stubborn. We need to make sure they really leave." Admiral Krell watched as his remaining ships prepared to depart Earth's orbit. This would be remembered as the greatest defeat in the history of the Draconian Empire. His name would be associated with this failure for generations. But as he studied the readings from the partially phased eternal flame, he realized something important. The humans could have destroyed his fleet. They could have killed every Draconian who entered their system. Instead, they chose a different path. Perhaps, Krell thought, there was something to learn from these strange beings after all. Jack Miller stood in a large circular room deep within the underground facility. This was the control chamber, where the Chimera system was monitored and directed. Screens covered the walls, showing the status of Chimera nodes worldwide and the positions of the remaining Draconian ships. "They're withdrawing," General Carter said, pointing to a display that showed the alien fleet moving away from Earth orbit. "But slowly, testing our patience." "Or buying time," Jack suggested. "They might be trying to figure out how our technology works." Dr. Olivia Barnes entered the room carrying a tablet computer. Her face showed concern. "We've got a problem," she announced. "The partial phase state of the Draconian flagship is becoming unstable. We need to either complete the phase shift or release it entirely." General Carter frowned. "If we release it, they might take that as weakness. And if we complete the shift, we lose our direct line to Admiral Krell," Jack pointed out. Olivia nodded. "We have about 6 hours to decide." On the remains of the eternal flame, Admiral Krell received disturbing news from his science officer. "The phase boundary is fluctuating, Admiral. Our sensors indicate the humans are having difficulty maintaining this partial state." Krell considered this information carefully. They overreached, he realized. Their technology has limits they didn't anticipate. "Should we exploit this weakness?" his tactical officer asked eagerly. Krell shook his head. "No. We will continue withdrawal as agreed. But record everything. The Empire must know exactly what we're dealing with here." In Washington, D.C., President Laura Simmons met with her advisors in the Oval Office. The immediate crisis had passed, but many challenges remained. "The world wants answers," her chief of staff said. "People are demanding to know how Project Chimera was kept secret for so long and who authorized it." The president nodded. "They deserve those answers, but first we need to ensure the Draconians actually leave our system." She turned to the Secretary of Defense. "What's the status of the captured ships?" "All 177 Draconian vessels remain in stable pocket dimensions," he reported. "The crews are unaware of the passage of time from their perspective." "And can we safely return them once the fleet withdraws?" the president asked. "Dr. Barnes assures me we can," the secretary replied. "But she recommends returning them one by one at the edge of our solar system to prevent any surprise attacks. In Datar, orbit around Earth, Commander Vex and his strike team remained in the pocket dimension where they had been sent after encountering Frank Rivera on the research station. For them, only minutes had passed, though days had gone by in the real world. "We must find a way out," Vex insisted, examining the featureless white walls of their prison. "The Empire needs to know what we've learned about human technology." His science officer shook her head. "Commander, these readings suggest we're not even in normal space anymore. We exist in a pocket dimension created by the humans' technology. There is no way out unless they release us." Vex growled in frustration. The Draconians had conquered 17 star systems by force of arms. They had never encountered a species that could simply remove them from reality itself. In Australia, Mary Johnson received new orders through her secure communication device. She was to maintain the Chimera node in active status but reduce its power output. Mary drove her Jeep to the hidden control panel and made the adjustments. As she worked, she noticed movement on the horizon. A group of kangaroos bounded across the red earth undisturbed by the world-changing events happening around them. Mary smiled. She had protected this land and its creatures for decades. Now, she had helped protect all of Earth. Most people would never know her role in saving humanity, and that was fine with her. In the pocket dimension where the captured Draconian ships were held, Dr. Susan Wright made an important discovery. "Look at this," she told Frank Rivera, pointing to data on her screen. "The Draconians have encountered humans before." Frank looked surprised. "How is that possible? We haven't sent colony ships beyond our solar system yet, except for the research outposts." Susan scrolled through the alien records. According to this, they found humans on a planet they call Terran 3 in the Arcturus sector. But those humans had primitive technology. The Draconians conquered them easily. Frank's eyes widened as he understood. "The colony ship Endeavor," he whispered. "It disappeared 70 years ago during an experimental FTL jump. Everyone assumed it was destroyed." "It wasn't destroyed," Susan said grimly. "It reached Arcturus somehow, and the Draconians found them. That's why they thought we would be easy to conquer," Frank realized. "They judged all of humanity based on that lost colony." In the control chamber, Jack Miller received an urgent message from Dr. Susan Wright. "The information about the lost colony ship changed everything." "General," Jack said, showing the message to Carter. "We need to talk to the president immediately." General Carter read the message, his expression grave. "If the Draconians conquered a human colony, then our negotiations need to include their release." In the White House, President Simmons received the shocking news about the lost colony. "The Endeavor survivors," she said softly. "All this time we thought they were dead." Peter Collins, who had joined the emergency meeting, leaned forward. "Madam President, this gives us leverage. The Draconians violated our sovereignty long before they came to Earth. They're holding human prisoners." The president nodded. "Contact General Carter. Tell him to inform Admiral Krell that our terms have changed." On the partial remains of the Eternal Flame, Admiral Krell was surprised to receive a new communication from the humans. General Carter's face appeared on the screen. His expression was hard. "Admiral Krell," he said without greeting, "we have discovered your Empire's previous contact with humans on what you call Terran 3. Those are our people. Their freedom is now part of our terms." Krell's scales darkened with anger. "You overstep human. Terran 3 is an established imperial colony. Those humans have been subjects of the Empire for decades." "They are citizens of Earth," General Carter replied firmly, "and you will return them as part of our agreement. Otherwise, none of your ships or crews will be returned." In the Atlantic Ocean research vessel, Dr. Kevin Young received new orders. Chimera Prime was to be prepared for another major operation. "They want us to create a direct portal to Arcturus," he told Lisa Chen in disbelief. "A stable wormhole large enough for ships to pass through." Lisa stared at him. "That's never been attempted. The energy requirements would be astronomical. They're redirecting power from every Chimera node on the planet," Kevin explained. "If it works, we can send ships directly to rescue the human colony." Jack Miller volunteered immediately when he heard about the rescue mission being planned. "I've studied the Draconian language and culture," he told General Carter. "I should be on the first ship through." General Carter nodded. Approved. "But first, we need to make sure Admiral Krell understands our new terms." On the Eternal Flame, Admiral Krell faced a difficult decision. The loss of the Terran 3 colony would be another blow to the Empire's prestige. But refusing meant losing his captured ships and crews. As he considered his options, the sensors officer called out in alarm. "Admiral!" Massive energy surge detected. "From Earth, they're creating some kind of space-time distortion." Krell rushed to the view screen. A swirling vortex of energy was forming in space near Earth. The humans were doing something unprecedented, opening a direct pathway across hundreds of light years. For the first time, Admiral Krell felt true fear. The humans weren't just defending their world. They were reaching across the stars to reclaim their lost people. and the Draconian Empire might not be able to stop them. The swirling portal of energy grew larger in space near Earth. Scientists and engineers worldwide diverted power to the Chimera Prime system, creating what they called a direct dimensional bridge to the Arcturus sector. In the control chamber, Jack Miller prepared for the rescue mission. He wore a sleek spacesuit designed specifically for Chimera operations. 20 other volunteers stood with him, all trained for first contact scenarios. The portal will remain stable for 72 hours, Dr. Olivia Barnes explained to the team. That gives you 3 days to locate the human colony and begin evacuation. What if the Draconians resist? Someone asked. General Carter stepped forward. Admiral Krell has been informed that any interference will result in the permanent loss of his captured ships and crews, but be prepared for resistance anyway. Jack checked his equipment one last time. What about the colonists? They've been under Draconian rule for decades. They might not trust us. That's why you're going, Lieutenant, General Carter said. Your background in xenoanthropology makes you uniquely qualified to handle this situation. On the bridge of the Eternal Flame, Admiral Krell watched the human portal with a mixture of fear and awe. His science officer provided continuous updates. They've created a stable wormhole to the Arcturus sector, the officer reported. It defies everything we know about physics. Can we block it? Krell asked. No, Admiral. And our long-range communications indicate they're preparing a second portal at Terran 3. They'll be able to bypass our blockades entirely. Krell's scales darkened. The implications were staggering. If humans could create portals anywhere in the galaxy, the Empire's control of space lanes meant nothing. Send a priority message to the Imperial Council, Krell ordered. Inform them that the human threat is far greater than we anticipated. His second-in-command looked concerned. What shall we do about Terran 3? Krell considered his options. Fight, and lose more ships, or adapt to this new reality. Order the garrison at Terran 3 to stand down, he finally said. Release the human settlers. In the White House, President Laura Simmons watched the rescue mission launch. 3 sleek ships entered the swirling portal, disappearing in flashes of light. How long until they reach Arcturus? She asked. The journey is nearly instantaneous, her science advisor explained. They'll arrive within minutes, but establishing contact with the colony may take time. Peter Collins stood nearby, watching the historic moment. Do you think the Draconians will honor the agreement? They don't have much choice, the president replied. We've changed the balance of power. They know it. We know it. Jack Miller felt a strange sensation as his ship entered the portal. It wasn't like normal space travel. There was no acceleration, no feeling of movement, just a brief moment of disorientation. Then suddenly they were there. The Arcturus star shone brightly on the view screen. The ship's sensors quickly located Terran 3, a blue-green world orbiting as the 4th planet in the system. Draconian vessels. Detected, the pilot announced. 5 ships in orbit around Terran 3. Jack moved to the communications station. Open a channel to the Draconian command. A scaled face appeared on the screen, looking shocked. Human vessels? How did you reach the system? By order of Admiral Krell, Jack said firmly. The human settlement on Terran 3 is to be released from Imperial control. We've come to escort our people home. The Draconian commander looked confused. We've received no such orders. Check your long-range communications, Jack suggested, and be aware that we have the ability to relocate your ships just as we did with the invasion fleet at Earth. While they waited for confirmation, Jack studied the sensor readings of the colony. Approximately 3,000 humans lived there, in what appeared to be a controlled settlement surrounded by Draconian military installations. After several tense minutes, the Draconian commander returned to the screen. Orders confirmed. The human settlement will be released. We're going down to the surface, Jack told his team. Remember, these people have lived under alien rule for decades. This will be a shock to them. The human ship landed near the colony, which consisted of simple buildings surrounded by a high fence. As Jack and his team exited their craft, they saw people gathering at the fence line. They looked human, but their clothing was strange, a mix of Earth styles from 70 years ago and Draconian influences. A middle-aged woman approached, flanked by two younger men. She wore a pendant that marked her as a leader. "I am Sharon Miller, Colony Administrator," she said cautiously. "The Draconians tell us you're from Earth. Is this true?" Jack nodded, removing his helmet. "Lieutenant Jack Miller, Earth Defense Force. We've come to bring you home." Sharon's eyes widened. "Home? Earth still exists? They told us it was destroyed." "Very much alive," Jack assured her, "and much more advanced than when the Endeavor left. We opened a direct portal to reach you." Sharon looked skeptical. "Why now? It's been 70 years. "We only just learned you survived," Jack explained. "The Draconians invaded Earth, expecting an easy conquest like they found here. But Earth had developed in ways they didn't expect." In orbit above Terran 3, the Draconian commander received new orders from Admiral Krell. The scaled officer read them with disbelief. "The Empire is recognizing full autonomy for all human-inhabited worlds," he told his bridge crew, "and establishing formal diplomatic relations with Earth." His second-in-command looked shocked. "The Admiral must be under duress." "No," the commander said, watching additional human ships emerge from the portal. "He's being realistic. The humans can reach anywhere in our territory instantly. The old rules of space warfare no longer apply." Back on Earth, Admiral Krell met with President Simmons and General Carter aboard a neutral station between Earth and lunar orbit. The remaining section of his flagship had been fully released from the phase shift, allowing him to attend in person. "The Imperial Council has ratified our agreement," Krell stated formally. "All human-inhabited worlds are recognized as sovereign territory. The Empire will withdraw from the Arcturus sector within 30 standard days." President Simmons nodded. "And in return, we will release your ships and crews one by one as your forces withdraw." Krell's amber eyes studied the human leaders. "You could have destroyed us," he said. "Your technology gave you that power. Why didn't you use it?" "That's not who we are," the president replied simply. "Humans learned long ago that destruction only creates more enemies. We found another way." 2 weeks later, Jack Miller stood with Sharon Miller, no relation they had determined, watching as the people of Terran 3 boarded ships for the journey through the portal to Earth. "They're nervous," Sharon admitted. "Most were born here. Earth is just a story to them." "They'll adjust," Jack assured her. "Earth has plenty of room, and their knowledge of Draconian culture will be invaluable." Sharon nodded. "And the Draconians have learned something too, that humans aren't what they expected." As the last colonists boarded the ships, Jack looked up at the sky. The Draconian vessels were already leaving orbit, heading out of the system, as agreed. Across the galaxy, the story of what happened at Earth spread quickly. The Draconian Empire had encountered something new, a species that could have destroyed them but chose not to, a civilization that had hidden its true capabilities until threatened, a people who valued life, even the lives of their enemies. His farm in Iowa, Jack sat with his parents watching the sunset. His mission complete, he had returned home for some well-deserved rest. "What happens now?" his father asked. Jack considered the question. "We step onto the galactic stage as we truly are. Not conquerors, not victims, but innovators who found a different path." "Will the Draconians honor the peace?" his mother wondered. "I think so," Jack said. "They've realized that destroying your enemies isn't always the best strategy. Sometimes just moving them out of the way works better." As darkness fell over the farm, Jack looked up at the stars. Humanity had faced its first major extraterrestrial threat and survived, not through superior firepower but through superior thinking. The Draconian fleet had disappeared on Earth, and in doing so, had discovered that humans were nothing like expected, and that had made all the difference.